The gentleman from Arlington, Mr. Hope.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for the point of personal privilege.
The gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, I've resisted by coming to the floor this entire session to talk about Medicaid expansion, but I can't be silent anymore. This is very important to our economy. This is very important to Virginia taxpayers. This is very important to hospitals and clinics and people who treat the poor. And it's very important to nearly 400,000 poor, uninsured Virginians, Mr. Speaker. No one disagrees that our Medicaid system is broken. The governor has said this multiple times. He has said it here, and he stated in the State of the State address. He said it as recently as yesterday when he sent a letter to budget conferees. We agree that Medicaid is broke and it needs to be fixed. We acknowledge that. Where we differ on, and the two versions that are before the body, is timing. Do we want to wait 18 months before we expand Medicaid? Do we want to cost our economy $3 billion before we expand Medicaid? Or can we get to where we all want to go, the reforms that we want, the expansion that we want for our economy, the jobs that we want? Can we do both at the same time? That is the question. That is where the timing says. The governor says he will not even consider Medicaid expansion until reforms are completed and he receives guarantees that changes will not increase the immoral national debt. But to wait until reforms are fully complete to expand Medicaid will forego billions of dollars in federal funding that could be used to help facilitate reforms and expand coverage to tens of thousands of Virginians, hundreds of thousands of Virginians. The total dollars available between 2014 and 2018 are not minimal. They're not minuscule. They're talking about $9.9 billion. I know if I saw $9.9 billion on the street, I'd pick it up. Whether we expand or not, Virginia will pay out $10 billion in new taxes. That's us. That's the taxpayers. The feds, if we don't expand, they're not going to give us a reduction on our taxes. I promise you on that. So whether we expand or not, we'll still have to pay, and the providers will also have to pay. They'll have be shortchanged $1.5 billion. It's fiscally irresponsible not to go after this money. Florida's Republican Governor Rick Scott has taken a very different approach than Governor McDonnell. Just yesterday he said, and I quote, "Our options are either having Floridians pay to fund this program in other states while denying health care to our citizens, or using federal funding to help some of the poorest in our state with a Medicaid program as we explore other options." Governor McDonnell has referred to our immoral national debt. And our national debt is immoral. We need to fix it. It's a huge problem, $16 trillion and counting up every second. This $9.9 billion that we're talking about for Virginia through Medicaid is a drop in the bucket. It's not a difference maker. It won't reduce our trillions of dollars in national debt, but it makes a huge difference to our economy in Virginia. A huge difference. It would create thousands of jobs by experts. Nonpartisan experts said it would create 31,000 jobs. If we don't expand, it will cost us jobs, Mr. Speaker. Governor Kasich, Republican Governor Kasich from Ohio, said, and I quote, "I can't look at the disabled. I can't look at the poor. I can't look at the mentally ill. I can't look at the addicted and think we ought to ignore them. For those who live in the shadows of life, for those who are the least among us, I will not accept the fact that the most vulnerable in our state should be ignored. We can help them." And we should help them, Mr. Speaker and ladies and gentlemen of the House. In a recent letter to the President of the United States, Governor McDonnell said in the letter, and I quote, "We just ask that you don't put a disproportionate share of the burden on our defenders of freedom." He was talking about the sequestration cuts that are coming our way, and Virginia will be hurt very dramatically because of all the defense that we have in our state. He expresses concerns that reports that Virginia economy may lose a total of $4.2 billion compared to the $9 billion for Medicaid over the next five years. That's not even half of what Medicaid expansion would bring over 5 years, but somehow the impact of those federal dollars for defense is more critical, less moral than what we have for Medicaid. I don't think so, Mr. Speaker. This is poor treatment of the Virginia taxpayers. We're already on the hook. We're already going to pay for this. This is poor treatment for our hospitals. They are already treating the people who are poor and uninsured. And this is poor treatment of our Virginia families that are depending on what we do here in this session, which may be the most important issue that we will face in this session. They are waiting to find out what we will do. We cannot, we should not leave this kind of money, $9 billion, on the table. We can't afford to do it. And then simply, I will not support a budget this week or any week that does not include Medicaid expansion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.